Welcome to CLSB Politics. Sean Briscoe speaking. So I thought I'd talk about what hurricane effect might have on the election. It's been on everyone's mind. I've gotten a few questions about it. So I took a look at the counties affected and did some math and stuff. So, just for the record, I have some experience. My first election that I worked when I was working, I was like a baby political work campaign worker. It was probably in 2020. No, I'm sorry, 2000. 2020. 2000. I was on Guam. I was working in governor's race, and we got hit by a pretty bad. It was at 2002. We got hit by a really bad typhoon. It actually smited our headquarters, destroyed it completely. Like there was nothing left. Pretty, biblical. So I've also been through 13 typhoons, and in a hurricane in Florida in 2020, when 2022, when Ian went right through the middle of my field program, very annoying. We went from, knocking tens of thousands of doors to zero. And then it was zero for like 8 days. And then we had like a 300 door day, and slowly built up. And I'll tell you, one testament to that program is after about a week and a half, we were back on power, we were back up. But there was a 2.5, 3 week gap. And Ian was bad, but I'm thinking this Helene is way worse. So this is the partisan voter map of the country in 2020. And so I went ahead and just kind of overlaid, I took a look at the power outage map. Seems to probably be the most accurate map to look if you're looking at logistical harm done by, the storm, because you got to have power to run a campaign. This does not operate off of wood burning fires, if you know what I mean. It needs computers, it needs apps, it needs cell phones that work. There's a lot of stuff that needs to happen. Phones have to work. I mean, landlines. So really now we're looking at polling, which is a kind of interesting thing. I'll talk about a little bit later, but the polling is going to be affected by this storm over the next few days. So I might do a show on that and see if we see any real difference, But anyway, that's the damage and swath that Helena took. That's, as you can see, it went through Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, and then into West Virginia. So it's a real interesting impact. So what I did was I took the 2020 numbers and I kind of outlined crudely with where the area was. So the states in play, as we all know, are Georgia, North Carolina, and Virginia. So those three states were affected. Georgia, Jesus, guys. Now, it hit Atlanta. Atlanta took a hit. It wasn't a hard hit, but it was hard enough, and it's going to have an effect. But if you look at that southern, eastern, rural part of Georgia, just got completely nailed. So what you're going to see is, never mind it's going to affect the election offices and just all the logistics and polling locations and everything you can imagine. It's 30 days away. Early voting will start soon. It's all right there, and it's all supposed to be happening in the next week or so, 2 weeks from now, right? So we've got a huge freaking problem, excuse my French, of getting the logistics up and running for those rural counties for them to vote. They'll do it. They always do. But now in what position are their voters in? Did they lose their homes? Are they moving in with relatives? Are they living outside their county? Well, what's the, absentee voting laws? They've really made them very strict in Georgia. This is where a lot of those voter laws that Georgia has passed to restrict the vote is probably going to end up biting the Republicans in the butt a good bit. Now, I think Georgia was hit hard enough pretty much across the board that I don't think any one party is going to have a real advantage. And then, of course, South Carolina is not really in play, although it did go through directly through the middle of that path is the most Republican voting part of South Carolina. So to say it won't have any impact is not accurate. But will it have enough? I don't know. But where I think it will actually have an impact is in North Carolina, except for my sisters and brothers in Nashville. I've got some friends in Nashville. They're doing fine. There is no power. Their community is, I got a report today from my friend Rich that he's a teacher and his wife Crystal is also a teacher, and they're really good friends of mine. Love them. They're family as far as I'm concerned. And they are, they're doing fine. Asheville is really coming together. That was my report I got today. So they have to drive out a bit to get any cell service, though, which kind of highlights an issue. It's logistics, you know. Cell phones are how we do field programs now. And even if you wanted to do an analog field program, which is some of the stuff I talked about yesterday, you still got to have printers that work, and they run by power. I mean, so even when you get your power back, there's so many other things that are going on. Schools how much damage does schools take? How much damage? And a lot of schools are polling locations. How much damage does the polling locations take? There's just 1,000 things that are going to affect this election. And then, you know, you had already disenfranchised Republicans operating. So they were already kind of, you know, they were going to hold their nose and vote for Trump. Or in the case of North Carolina, that guy running for their governor, oh my God. So if you've got tons of stuff on your plate, are you going to bother? You know, North Carolina is really a state to watch. Those dark red counties on the western half of North Carolina, absolutely something to watch. Virginia, same thing. You got all those rural counties that turn out big time red all throughout the western half of Virginia, and it's exactly the half that was hit. So same problems: cell phones, power, logistics. Are the structures where the voting was going to occur, where are they? Are they moving? Because moving voting locations will affect the vote. There's so many things, and what's crazy is that this is all happening in a predominantly red part of our country and a rural part of our country. So they rely on roads. You know, they have to drive probably 15 miles to go vote. So it's and if you've got trees or, you know, your car got washed out, I mean, there's just a million things that could affect this election. So like I said, if you're talking about Western Virginia, it's very red. And then you've got Western North Carolina, also very red, outside Asheville and one or two other little spots. What's that effect going to be? You know, you have Roe on the ballot. You've got Trump on the ballot. In North Carolina, you got that crazy governor candidate on the ballot. I mean, all of these things have an effect. None of this happens in a bubble. So not one of these things isn't going to touch the other. So it's going to be really interesting to see how the numbers play out. I got a lot of questions about the Senate race. Got some bad news, guys. Montana is kind of the key. Now, like I said, Florida got hit, but they're used to it. Florida, I've never seen a state rebound as fast as Florida when I was there in 22 during Ian, running campaigns. It was amazing. They were able to get their act together and get up and running in a very short period of time. I don't think that hurricane will have as huge an impact as maybe Roe or some of the other issues that are currently on the ballot. Montana, talk about a bubble. They live in their own little bubble, and there's about 500,000 of them. There's about 1 million people in Montana, right? And that state is looking pretty red. Tester's won a bunch of times there, but he's never had to operate during a Trump cycle. He's never been elected during a Trump cycle. So this is going to be a really interesting race to watch. Montana is probably the key to the Senate. There will be thousands of people in Montana that will decide, because you understand, Kamala can win, and then we take Congress, which I think we're going to do. But the Senate is 51 Republican, 49 Democrat. They're going to stop everything. Think Obama's election. Think Obama's administration in the last 6 years. Yeah, Mitch McConnell and all his little cronies are going to deep six every single thing Kamala has going for her. And that's what will happen if the Senate doesn't go the way for the Democrats. We knew it was going to be a heavy lift anyway. We knew Montana was on the ballot. So this is not a surprise for anyone who's been paying attention, but it's an issue. It's a real issue. So just want to remind everyone, like I do every show, to register to vote. These are the deadlines in some of the states. Early voting's already started in Pennsylvania. They've been voting in Pennsylvania for 2 weeks. Isn't that crazy? So voting has started. And just call your friends, call your parents, make sure they're registered to vote, make sure everyone gets out and votes. Thank you for watching. Check your voter status, like and subscribe. If you wish to support this channel, we have an account on PayPal at CLSB Politics. All right. I hope everyone has a great week. I've got a few shows planned for this week that'll be kind of interesting, and I'll see you then. All right. I hope everyone has a great